In the wake of the economic hardships posed by the COVID-19 pandemic in the U.S., a group of conservative scholars and leaders is asking Congress to consider expanding both the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit. The letter to House and Senate leaders reads in part, quote, "The coming months will be very difficult for many Americans and their families as they try to regain their financial footing after an unforeseeable blow. It is crucial that our government play an ancillary role of providing support to those most in need." Brad Wilcox, senior fellow at the Institute for Family Studies and one of the signatories of that letter, joins me now on Skype to talk more about it. Brad, welcome back.
It's good to be here, Mark.
I want to talk about both of these policies. Let's start with the earned income tax credit. How would expanding that, how could that help?
Well, the earned income tax credit is basically a support to working families. It gives working families additional money in the spring, typically. And so typically, between $2,000 and $3,000 for the average American family. So this would be kind of something that would be brought forward again in the fall to help lift up working class and lower middle class families, many of whom obviously are struggling pretty profoundly, given losses in jobs and other expenses that have cropped up in the wake of COVID.
I know it's focused on the child tax credit. How would expansion of that, how could that help America's working families?
Well, the child tax credit would be $2,000 per each child under the age of 18. And I think one of the things that we're seeing here is that as people are approaching the fall, they're worrying about how they're going to figure out schooling, childcare, and any number of other expenses related to raising their kids. So having an expanded kind of emergency child tax credit issued in the fall again on a per child basis would help families do things like find, maybe a teacher if their public schools are not in session, for instance, in person, as is the case for many, many districts across the U.S. So that's the kind of expense that would help families address, or if mom or dad is not working, to stay home and be with the kids because there is no in-person in-school option, that's going to put a strain on their family budget as well. So the child tax credit kind of helps parents address the unique financial challenges, particularly this fall, that I think are going to be facing many families across America.
And you point out that as the nation's economy is recovering, there are still a lot of people suffering financially. If these tax credits were expanded, how soon could people get some economic relief? When could we see that?
My guess would be late August or September. There's going to be some negotiation between the Senate, the House, and the White House. And we're hoping that our letter will encourage the Senate in particular to take decisive action to really help particularly working class and lower middle class families who are the most likely to be struggling right now as we approach the fall. And we haven't obviously really kind of really vanquished COVID yet. And so that's going to continue to be a drag on the economy. It's going to also continue to make many schools not be in session Monday through Friday, which is also a big challenge for many, many parents across the U.S.
Let's talk more about the letter that you signed to lawmakers. Are you optimistic? Have you heard back from congressional leaders?
I've not heard back yet from any congressional leaders, but we are in sort of discussion both with a number of senatorial offices and staffers, and that's really where the sort of the logjam here is. And obviously the Republicans control the Senate right now. And as a group of conservatives, really trying to encourage the Republican senators especially to be aggressive in providing economic support to ordinary families across the country.
And is there real hope that we can see bipartisan support for something like this?
Mark, I think that there is. I think that there is a recognition across the aisle that, many, many families in the U.S. are struggling here. And so I think we are going to see some movement in the next week or two among Republicans to get this thing done, to come to an agreement with the White House and the House, to figure out some concrete plans to make it easier for families across the U.S.
Brad Wilcox, senior fellow at the Institute for Family Studies, thank you for joining us.
Mark, thanks for having me on today. Appreciate it.